I think this is World Trigger number 2, but without Lilith and Zeno annoying the hell out of us every time we see them on screen. God, I hate those guys. Yo, what's going on, guys? Freaking logic and luck is very, very similar to World Trigger, man. That's why I started off the video like this. Like, I don't know if they got a lot of that stuff from World Trigger, or if like this was a manga before World Trigger or during World Trigger, and they just collided with each other, and or they come from the same creator. Because most of the time, an anime that you don't know about, an anime that you do know about, some of the same creators for anime that you love create other anime. That's how come they seem so similar and stuff, man. But this whole world revolves around logic. Now, logic that we know of is not an emotional thing. It's not attached to anything else except your thought process and what you process in your mind and stuff. But in this world, logic is a profound law of nature that governs all things, meaning your emotions, the laws of nature, who you are as a person, what your fighting style will be, what you eat for every day. Everything revolves around logic, and there's different dimensions in this world too. That's how come in this episode we get people from other worlds, such as Athena and all the other people that we see in the background that's with all the other fighters. Now, the main character, his name is Tsurugi Yoshichika. Now, it took me a while to learn his name, man, but some of his backstory is that he was once this fighter that they call logicless. Logicless are fighters that uses people like Athena through these things they call logic cards in order to use their powers. And Athena is people from the other dimensions that transform into these weapons once they merge with a certain person that they're compatible with. Now, in this episode, we saw a girl get picked up from like some place, and like this butler guy was trying to talk to her like, hey, you're compatible with this certain logic and with this certain person from another dimension. We need you to come and be a fighter for us so you can help fight off these monsters and stuff. And it's the same thing kind of like World Trigger is when like these gates open in logic. And that's what really made me think of this as like World Trigger, is because the gates open up and then these monsters come out. But these monsters aren't anything like the monsters in World Trigger. When they come out, they are already big, they're already brooding, they're already destroying stuff. In this world, when the monsters come out, they have to merge with a human in order to become what they are in another dimension. I think in the other dimension they're already that, but when they come to this dimension that's in another world, they have to merge with the human in order to become what they want to become, and to become that brooding, terrifying monster, or kaiju, if you will, and stuff. And they go around finding these people that they're compatible with in order to become that. Because in this episode, when Tsurugi and his sister was at the mall, we saw Tsurugi tell his sister to go ahead, leave and stuff, and then he freaking like ran and tried to take the monster's attention off of all the people escaping and onto him, and that's where he met Athena. And like the monster, when the logicless that showed up in the beginning of this episode showed up again at the mall, the monster had deformed, like stopped being fused with the human he was compatible with, and ran and fused with another human. Thus will come later in the episode, we get Athena and Tsurugi fusing together. And when they fuse, it's not like in World Trigger when they say trigger on, and then it's just some armor suit, your whole entire body just leaves, and then you be branded with a new body, but you still have your same mind and stuff. And I really don't know how that works in World Trigger and stuff, but yeah. And when they fuse, it's more of a romantic type of fuse. Like, you really have to be compatible with the person you're fusing with, and your bonds really have to be strong. Like, y'all really got to be connected to one another, or y'all won't fight well. And for some reason, like, even though Athena and Surya bonds aren't that well connected and stuff, because they just met this episode, they still can fight really good. And I don't know if that's because Athena or if it's because Surya. Now, I think it might be because of Surya, because he is a previous logicalist, but he lost his freaking powers when he overused them. Like, back in the day, he was this logicalist that was on his mission, and in order to defeat this monster that came from another dimension, he had to overuse his trace. Now, trace is the same thing as a trigger in world trigger and stuff. And he overused it. And if you overuse your trace, you will lose your, like, things that make you you, like your personality, your memories, who you are as a person, your motor skills, your speech and all of that, man. You will lose all of that. And they was warning him, don't overuse the trace. That's prohibited, that's against the law and stuff. But he was like, I need to use this in order to defeat this monster and stuff. But I don't know what he lost. He might have lost a little bit of his personality, because once he did overuse it and defeat the monster, they got rid of him. They said, give me your trace, give me your logic card, get out of here. And he got bumped all the way down to regular civilian, just like his dad and his sister and stuff and everybody else. And you could tell about that through the whole entire episode, because when he was in the mall with his sister, why didn't he just run out with his sister and that little boy? He wanted to run and go take on the freaking monster that he know he can't beat because he doesn't have the trace, but it's still like in his mind to where he just wants to keep fighting and keep fighting, because he's been set up and brought in that way and trained that way, because he previously was a trigger user. Now he's not, so he's missing that life and wants to get back to that life and stuff. And thankfully he found Athena, so they can fight together and then take on these monsters with all the other logicals and stuff. And it was some foreshadowing in this episode too, man, about their mom and stuff, because their mom, I think she died, like, for real, because her his sister kept saying, like, I think this is what mom would have wanted. I think mom would have did this. Mom wouldn't have want you to do this. Mom wouldn't have want you to do that. And every time she talked about it, she always got really emotional. And then at the end, she started crying when she started talking about, like, don't go. Mom would say the same thing I'm saying right now. Don't go and stuff. And then her dad was funny, man, because he was just in the back like, I don't know if she would say that. That made me laugh a little bit. And like, Surugu just told her that, nah, man, I got to do this. I got to go and defend everybody, protect everybody and stuff. This is what I'm born to do. This is what I need to do and stuff. But she didn't want him to do that. She just wanted him to stay with her and stuff. And that was pretty good in Jump, man. But everybody works for this agency called Another Logic Counter Agency. And it's set up to defend against the monsters and stuff. That's how come I'm thinking this series is created by the same guy who created World Trigger. Because in World Trigger, it's the self-defense, border. Yeah, the self-defense agency against other worldly creatures or something like that in World Trigger. But they call themselves the Border Agents. And Border is the same agency that is set up in order to defend against these monsters. But in this series, they don't have nearly the enough manpower they do in Border. Like, for real. The reason for that is you have to be compatible with the convenator that you trying to set yourself up with and have a trace with to use your logic card with, so you can be able to use their power, so you can defend and fight off these freaking kaiju, these freaking monsters and stuff, man. Like, for real. That's how come they don't have the amount of manpower that World Trigger has, because in World Trigger you just have to train and then you can become a border agent if you just get a trigger. But in this series you have to actually be compatible with the convenator in order to become a logicalist. Just like in World Trigger, you have to learn how to train and get your skills up in order to have a trigger and actually use it in public and stuff. And the gates that open are called paradoxes, man. Paradoxes is basically the same gates that open up in World Trigger and Jump. One of the things that I liked about Tsurugi is that he's already an established logicless, just like how Toriko is an established Bishiokai. He's already an established logicless. That's how come he's able to fight really good and stuff. Because if he wasn't an established logicless and he just met Athena that day, I would have problems with that. I'd be like, okay, now this is just plot device, just freaking doing whatever you want to do. Like, I don't like this at all, man. But thankfully, he's already an established logicless to where he can do some of that stuff, man. But solid episode. I give it an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. Really good episode. Really didn't grab me and throw me in as much as I wanted it to, but still really good episode. I plan on watching more of this. If all the episodes stay as good as this one, I plan on watching more of this, man. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. If you like anything I had to say, man, put it down in the comments. Like this video, share, subscribe, and all that, man. I'm Darren the Awesome. You're awesome. Stay awesome. I love your faces. Peace. One love. I'm out.